That reflects to please, to over apologize, to keep the peace at your own expense. That's not your personality. That's your nervous system still trying to survive someone. And so if people call you easy, low maintenance, so kind, and sometimes you flinch or something in you flinches every time they say it because you know the real cost behind it. You already know exactly what I'm about to talk about today. Everybody knows fight, flight, and freeze. Today, I'm naming the fourth one, the one almost nobody talks about. And so by the end of this video, I'll tell you what you'll get. You'll have 5 signs you're fawning, not being kind, right? It's fawning, not being kind. Stay to the end. And that's the fourth one that people don't talk about, fawning, right? We talk about fight, flight, and freeze, but there's a fourth one, and it's fawning. And so at the end of this video, you would have 5 signs whether to check whether you're fawning or you're being kind. At the end of this video, also, you'll get the science behind why your body learned appeasement as a survival skill. And at the end of this video, you'll have one sentence that buys you time before your next automatic yes. Is that good? You love it? All right, so let's get into it. Now, what does fight say? Fight says, I'll hurt you first, right? Flight says, I'm out. Flight is, I'm flying out. I'm out. I don't want to have this conversation. Freeze says, I can't move. So you find yourself and you're just not able to do anything. Fight is, we're going to fight this out verbally or physically. Now, Fawn says, I'll love you instantly so that you don't and won't hurt me. Now, Fawn was named by a therapist called Pete Walker, working with survivors of chronic childhood trauma. And it typically develops in homes where keeping a caregiver calm was the smartest, safest option a child had. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about today. And it is a big deal. It is, right? It is a big deal. And so we're talking, this is, I mean, we all know, oh, I'm going to fight, I'm going to flight, we all know that. We know freeze, oh, I just couldn't say anything. I just kept quiet. But this fourth one, my goodness. Because what happens is that you're the one that wants to keep the peace, who says it's fine. Even before anyone apologizes, you have apologized. You can read a room's mood before the door fully opens. Some people call it kindness. Some people even call it flexibility, being your easygoing. But underneath, your nervous system is running a specific, well documented survival strategy, and it has a name. It's the fourth F. Yes, yes, it's called Fawn. Yeah. It wasn't identified as a false trauma response until maybe 23 years ago, which is part of why it's gone unnamed for so long, right? And like I said, it was Pete Walker that created it. Yes. And this is the trauma response hiding in plain sight. You are the one you're called a people pleaser. You're the one that wants peace, everybody's peace, but yours. Yes. I used to be like that. I was that child that, honestly, I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to like me. And so, yes, I started off, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard my story. I started off being rebellious, but I didn't stop there. I ended up also moving into the space of um, people pleasing. I would say yes when I really wanted to say no. I would say, okay, you know what, all is well, let's end all of this. Let's deal, it's okay. But it wasn't okay for me. I just said that because, I would say things like, I'm not confrontational. I don't want people at the bottom and baseline is that I didn't want people to not like me. I wanted to belong. And so this was really, really big for me. I mean, even up until even marriage, people will ask me for things. I know that I really want to say no to it. But I'll say yes. Why? Because I wanted people to like me. I mean, I started off as a stepmother with no advice, with no knowledge of what it was or what I was getting myself into. No knowledge whatsoever. And so what happened? I just would say yes. I would go against my natural state. I would do things that on a normal day I don't want to do. I just want to be in bed. I'll go to places that I didn't want to go to, but just for peace sake. And there's a science of appeasement as armor. And this is for everybody, including skeptics. Yes. Now, the first science, part one says, where fight says, I'll hurt you first, Fawn says, I'll love you instantly. Now, Pete Walker, when he was working with adult survivors on chronic childhood trauma, he identified this survival response. So he realized that there's something beyond fight, there's something beyond flight, there's something beyond freeze. It's not just those three. There's also something that says, I want to instinctively appease, accommodate, and merge with the needs of other people. I want to belong, right? So it's a perceived threat in order to stay safe. And so if you had parents who were volatile, you didn't know whether they were hot today or cold tomorrow. If you had, parents who were always fighting, there was a lot of chaos, you just wanted to keep the peace. And so, okay, everywhere you go to, okay. And okay really was hurting you, but you didn't know any better. And it typically also develops in homes where keeping a caregiver calm was the safest strategy. So there was always conflict, there was always unpredictability, there was always emotional volatility. So what did you think was best? If I keep quiet, at least they won't see me. If I say, okay, yeah, I used to have a friend that would say, yes, no, the tear cloth. In Nigeria, it means if I say yes, we're not going to fight over it. You only ask me a question when I say no. But if I say yes all the time, guess what? You're not going to ask me why I'm saying yes. It's when people say no that they ask why you say no. But with yes, we're cool. So the same agreeableness that made you excellent at your job, an easy friend, a low maintenance partner, may also be quietly costing you your own interior life. Now, I've had friends, let me even use my daughter as an example. I took my daughter to a new friend's house, let me call her that. And they met themselves and they thought, okay, let's hang out. So I took my daughter to her house. Now, my daughter is a very strong-willed person. You can't force her to do what she doesn't want to do. You can't. If she says she doesn't want to do something, oh, you have to threaten her. But if you give her way, she'll say, no, that's not what I want to do. So she's that strong-willed, and I allow her and I celebrate her autonomy. Now she met with another girl who also always had her way, right? So they both, in Nigeria, we call it no grief for anybody, which is they didn't agree. I mean, they wanted what they wanted when they wanted it and why they wanted it. Now there was a third girl. This third girl was fawning. So my daughter and her friend, they will come, no, this is what I want. The girl will say, but this is what I want. My daughter will say, yes, you can have what you want, but I also want this. And I also have the right to ask for what I want. And that was the clash. But this third girl will just keep quiet. And if my daughter says to her, what do you think? She'll say yes. The other one says, what do you think? She'll say yes. And both of them were like, but don't you have a mind of your own? And so eventually I was brought into this conversation. And the mother of the girl said, I'm happy that your daughter came to my house. She said, because my daughter and this other girl never quarrel. You will never hear my daughter's voice because everything my daughter says, the girl says yes to. But today is the first time she has met somebody who has said, no, I don't want what you want. I want what I want. you can have what you want. And we don't have to only have what you want. So the woman was excited that her daughter was meeting somebody who also had a strong personality. And I was smiling because I know who my daughter is. I've raised her to be somebody who can say, I don't want to do it. Now, yes, she might not have her way all the time, but she knows that she can at least say what she wants. Yeah. And so, what did that young girl, I'm sure in her house, she had to learn how to just say okay to be able to exist. And that's what it is. That's what fawning is. The second part of it is that your system, your safety system was hijacked for survival. Now, another neuroscientist, Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory describes a social engagement system. He says it's a part of you built for warmth, smiling, and connection. Fawning happens when you get this same system, when this same system gets co-opted for defense. So it looks pro-social, it looks friendly, it looks agreeable, but underneath is being used to manage a threat, right? Not to genuinely connect. That is why fawning is so easily missed, even by the person doing it. It doesn't look like fear. It can possibly look like a personality, but it's not. And one of the questions you want to ask is, am I being kind, or am I managing someone's mood so that I feel safe? The answer is really obvious at first. And that's exactly the point of asking. So you actually might think that, oh no, but I'm being kind. Oh no, but I'm being nice. Oh, I'm just being, let's agree. There was this, I remember there was this thing that I did, this personality test, and there's agreeable, there's something, agreeable before when I first did the test, agreeable was one of the things that picked up that was high on my own list. I can't remember the others, but I know there was agreeable because I didn't want to rock the boat. I just wanted peace. So if you say we're going like, let's go. No problem. I don't want to fight. I don't want to confront you. I don't want to be confronted. I just want us to. Meanwhile, what I want is inside me and I'm not able to say it. I didn't know that being agreeable against my own wishes was something that actually affected me. And I'm sure if you really sit in and ask yourself the question, it might also be worrying or affecting you as well. Now, the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whosoever putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. So long before trauma had a clinical name, Scripture had already named the trap of shaping yourself around someone else's approval and pointed to a safety that doesn't require appeasement. If you're afraid of a man, then bring a snare. If you think that, oh, if I say what I really feel is going to cause the quarrel, and that's what really happens. You say, if I really say how I feel, she won't like me, he won't like me, he would fight me, he won't speak to me, and so I would rather hold on to what I really feel and just say okay with a smile. But your body is suffering it. It's not okay. It's not okay. Now, you and I can have different opinions. You and I can want different things, and that's okay. And I must be able to say, this is what I want. Let me give you a practical example. I like to sleep in darkness, cool room, absolute darkness, just me chilling. My husband wants the lights on and he wants the TV on. He wants to probably watch the TV till he falls asleep and leave the TV on all through the night. I don't sleep that way. If I wake up and the TV is on, the lights are on, it will take me a while for me to sleep back. Now, for whatever reason, that's just how it has been. So, who is now going to do what for who is the question, right? Because he wants the light on, I want the lights off. So, what do we do? Now, we have two options. Sleep in separate rooms is option one, right? Sleep in separate rooms. You get what you want, I get what I want. And if we want to have some kind of intimacy or affection, We do that, and then we go our separate ways to sleep so that you can sleep in your light and I can sleep in the dark. Right? The second option is what? Is that we agree. Week one, we sleep in lights. Week two, we sleep in darkness. There are always options. There are options. Or I learn how to sleep with the light on, or he learns how to sleep with the darkness on. There's so many options. But imagine me saying, okay, yes, it's true. I want us to have peace. And so he sleeps and I can't. What happens in the process? What happens? He's going to get up and go straight into work, enjoy himself because he was well rested. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to be so frustrated because I didn't sleep well. I'm burnt out. All those things that come with it. I'm angry. I'm irate. All the things that come with all those things. Why? Because I didn't sleep well. Now, Fawn will say, it's okay. It's okay, baby. I will sleep in the light with the TV on. I will lie down here and suffer with you so that you feel my love. Is that really true? No. At the end of the day, I will resent him so much, or vice versa. So we have different options and we do different things on different days. Sometimes we sleep together, sometimes we don't. Yes, we choose what works for us on those days. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, get what you want. I don't have to wake up very early in the morning because I wake up early. I'm up by 5:30, 6 because I want to do some exercise. I want to spend some time meditating, so I start my day very early. He starts his day a bit later. He can sleep till 9. By 9 I've done a series of things. So we've got to find what then works for both of us because we both still need to function. Since we've agreed to stay together in marriage, we've got to then find what works for us. And it's going to be different for everybody. You can't say, oh, but Diola said XYZ, so I'm going to try. You've got to see what works for you. You've got to find what works for you because there's no one size fits all. Everything now is seeming like it's one size fits all, from diet to nutrition to what you like to styling. Everything there's no one size fits all at all. It doesn't exist, right? So we've got to find a way that we also are appeased. I always ask this question, okay, for peace sake, whose peace first? It has to be my peace. I can't be dancing and angry and then you're at peace. It's impossible. But I used to be like that. So I'm going to share 4 truths for recovering fawners like me. I'm a recovered one. Now, none of these require you to become unkind, only honest. Once we're honest with ourselves and we're aware of what's going on, then we can take a step to change. We can take a step to transformation. We can participate in our own change and our own transformation. Now, the truth is, fawning kept you safe. It was never a character flaw. So now we name people pleasing as a character flaw. It's not. It was never a character flaw. It was always just to keep you safe because you learned that as a child, that if I appease people, then I'm good. If I don't, then I'm not. Right? So if you grew up managing an unpredictable parent's mood, appeasement wasn't submission. It was a coping mechanism. It was a strategy, and a very smart one at that, because that's how you got all the things that you needed. A child who can read a room and adjust in half a second is a child who has learned to survive. That skill was never the problem. The problem is that it was never learned by you to switch it off. Yes, I worked with a woman who was known at work as endlessly agreeable. She would take on every extra project, never pushes back in meetings. She'll say, okay, whatever you say. In therapy, she traced it back to a childhood spent monitoring her father's temper. Her body never got the memo that the meeting room wasn't that house anymore, however. And how did we shift it? We thanked the strategy for what it was doing for her. And we gently told her body, this room is no longer that house. Look, can I be very honest? I am so grateful for the work that I do. So grateful. I'm so grateful that I, first of all, went through it to experience it and learn it. I'm so grateful that I didn't stop on learning it for myself. I didn't stop and saying, well, I know it now, so I'm good. I went a step ahead to think, if other people, if this could have helped me this much, what would happen if I then help other people? And that's how this mission came upon me. It was, if you had told me 5 years ago that I'll be doing this work today, I'll tell you, you have no clue as to who you're talking to. That whatever you are seeing it from cheap drugs or expired drugs. And that vision is not correct, it's not complete. That's what I would have said to you. I promise you. But sitting down and going through my healing process, looking at it and say, oh, this is why I fawn. This is why I people please. This is why I like to belong. This is why I accept things that I don't want. This is why I cling onto people as though, especially in love. This is why I feel the need. I was unearthing them one after the other. This is why I feel like I need to keep doing things and performing to get attention and affection. This is why I feel when I was unearthing them one after the other, using hypnotherapy, of course, and other styles of coaching and mentorship, I was like, I cannot keep this greatness to myself. That's what I would say. I can't, there's no way I can keep all of this to myself. I think it's time that I go and train so that I can help other people. And that's how this journey started for me. I started to invest my resources into it, my time, my money, my essence. I started to dig deeper. I started to go further. I started to read, attend conferences. I was telling a client of mine some days ago that if the conference, because of Nigerian time and American time, is 6 hours, sometimes 7 hours, sometimes 5 hours apart, I will wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning and join my class till I did all the things that I needed to do to become the woman that I am today. And because of that, I'm able to sit in front of you today saying, I know exactly what I'm talking about because I've healed from a lot of the things that I'm talking about. And I'm still in the healing process, by the way. Some days show up, I'm like, oh, I thought I dealt with that. Oh, okay, I still have some of that. Now we've got some more work to do. It's never one and done, never. It will wreak or it will show its head at some point, right? And you take it as it is. I never beat myself over it. I will never shame myself or guilt myself. I don't do any of those things anymore. I don't shoulda, woulda, coulda. I say to myself, this is what I can do now, and then I go ahead and do it. So I'm so grateful for the work and the transformation that I'm having, and will keep having because I stay on the course of growing and the ability that I have to help other people that come my way. I promise you. The second truth, a yes that never meets a no doesn't mean anything. If you say yes to everyone, your yes stops being information. It becomes noise. It becomes an entitlement to people. It becomes a reflex rather than a real answer. Oh, would you go? Yes. The people who love you most are actually being deprived of knowing the true you if you're a yes man or a yes woman. Because the true you rarely gets a vote. Because you have said yes to everybody else but yourself. And a no isn't the opposite of love. It's what makes your yes worth trusting. I'm going to say that again. A no isn't the opposite of love. Is what makes your yes worth trusting. So the more no's you say, the more you can trust your yes and others can trust your yes too. The Bible even says, let your communication be yea or nay. Even scripture calls for plain, honest words, not performance. A faithful yes requires a possible no beside it. Can you do something today? Yes. What about tomorrow? No, because I have something else I want to either do or not do tomorrow. And no, I mean, I always ask people, why is it that when I say yes, you don't ask me why I say yes? But when I say no, you ask me why I say no. Are you saying that I don't have the capacity to just say no without having a reason to say no? Sometimes, even now, I had to teach my mom. When she calls me, she'll ask me, is it a good time? Yes, that's the question she asks me now. Is it a good time? And sometimes I say yes. Sometimes I say no. She might even ask me, so what are you doing at the moment? Nothing. I don't want to talk at the moment. I need to be away for the next 1 hour. In 1 hour, you can call me back. And that 1 hour is not for anything but me. It's my 1 hour. For me, deal with it. It's my 1 hour. Mine. Mine 1 hour. And I don't need to explain why to you. So we've got to learn that a yes does not mean that you love people the most. And you know the truth, you can never love anyone really more than you love yourself. That Bible thing that says love others the way you love yourself, it's so correct. Because we don't love ourselves, that's why we treat people the way we treat people. But we never, when people say, oh, I want to do this because I want to help people. Really? Really? If you really go deep into it, it's not because you want to help people. If the reason why you do anything is only because you want to help people, when those people turn their backs against you, you will stop doing it. So there has to be something that you also benefit from that thing you are doing, that whether they respond to you or not is irrelevant. You will keep doing this thing because there is something that it does for you, not dependent on the next person. And keep that at the back of your mind and, ruminate on it and chew on it and see how that sits for you. There's no task that you want to do that you do because you love anybody. And that's why most times I do levels deeper in asking why you really want something, because it's never only about you. Never. Third one, boundaries feel like abandonment because once they were. If a boundary in your childhood home led to punishment, withdrawal, or rage, your body learned an equation. Boundary equals danger. So now, even a mild, reasonable limit can trigger a wave of guilt entirely out of proportion to the moment. So my daughter has this rule. She's 10 years old, by the way. Mommy, you can't come into my room without knocking. Because when I come to your room too, I knock. Now imagine me saying to her, you're not serious. That then don't come to my room anymore. What do you think I've said to her? That your boundaries don't matter. That I would isolate you if you have your own boundaries. I will stop loving you if you have your own boundaries. Tell me what child wants to hear that their parent or their mother will not love them anymore just because they had a boundary. Just tell me. So what do you think she'll do immediately? She'll say, sorry, mommy, you can come into my room whenever you like. And the moment she does that to me, she will do it to everybody else. Why? Because she does not want to be abandoned. She doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to be isolated. No human being actually wants to be, because God created us. One of the four things God created us for was connection. So we must need someone else. Must. It's not a maybe, it's a must. Because I will have a skill you don't have. You will have a skill I don't have. And then I will need you and you will need me. So people now start to feel guilty for building boundaries or saying, no, I don't want you to speak to me that way. I don't want you to call me at a particular time. I only want this. I only want that. I only want my breakfast at a certain, I only want to eat food. You say no because you have that old alarm still ringing for fire in your head, but that fire went out long time ago. One of the things that we do in RTT and in hypnotherapy is that we help you, or I help you, look at the story that is being told in your subconscious about why you do the things that you do. I remember working with a young boy who had he had a challenge with smoking. Now everybody was making a fuss. So I said, would you like me to hypnotize you and find out what's going on in your subconscious, in that alarm, old alarm that is still running? He said, yes, I would like that. So I hypnotized him. And in his first scene, smoking cigarette meant that he was free to take decisions on his own. Can you imagine that? That it gave him freedom to say, now I can take a decision on my own and nobody will stop me. So smoking equals freedom for him. Yeah. And then I said, okay, let's go back to a time when you didn't feel free. And let's see what that looked like. And in one of his scenes, he went back to a scene where he cut his hair. And he came back home and his mother told him, this hair is not good enough. You're going to go back and go and recut your hair again because this hair is not going to work for me. And he was thinking, but it's my hair. Can't I have my hair? And of course, he couldn't say it out because he knew that he was maybe going to get a slap or told that I don't care what you feel or what you want. Eventually, he had to go back and cut his hair. So I said, okay, let's go back and say, so how did you feel? He said, I felt small. I felt sad. Let's go back to another time when you felt small and sad. And the scene he went back to now when he was 6 years old and he was in school and they were about to have this sports in school and he wanted to run and his teacher looked at him because he had a limp. His teacher said to him, you're not like the others. You cannot run. Stay back and just watch. And he tried, asked a couple of times, and the teacher said no. And he felt so small. He felt so can you see the different stories? If we had fought him about smoking, we would never, on the conscious level, we would never have known what was going on the unconscious level. So that guilt is not proof that you're doing something wrong. It's just an old alarm still ringing for a fire that went out long ago. So one of the things you can do and say silently, when you find yourself dancing to music that you would normally not dance to, or saying yes to people that you would normally say no to, say to yourself, this is an old alarm, not new evidence. And let the guilt be present without letting it drive your car. So it can be there. Okay, I said no. And then you now start to question yourself. Should I have said no? Could I have said yes? You're feeling guilty for putting your measures out there. Feeling guilty. You just tell yourself, this is not new. This is an old alarm. I'm safe to say what I want to say now because I'm an adult and I can take certain decisions on my own without needing someone else to validate or approve me. That's what you need to say. The fourth truth is that keeping the peace and having peace are not the same thing. Peacekeeping manages other people's emotions at your own truth, at the expense of your own truth. Real peace, the kind scripture actually points to, does not and will never ask you to disappear. Even God says, bring your thoughts, let's reason one to another. Yes, you can talk to, even God, you can talk to. You can tell God, this thing that is happening, I don't like it. I have that conversation with God all the time. I don't like it, Father. I know. I start with, I know that all things work together for my good. And I know that your intention and inclination towards me is good. I know it. But I don't like this. I don't, and I'll cry. I don't like this. I don't like this part. But then I remind myself that, but I know that this is happening for my good. And so I'm willing to learn all the lessons and come out of this place in flying colors. Peacekeeping sounds like it's fine, don't worry, I'll figure it out, whilst you are quietly resentful or exhausted. But real peace sounds like this doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. But I still care about us figuring this out together, said honestly without performance. So I had a conversation with somebody who was working with me, and she wanted something different, right? I felt like the mode of conversation was wrong, but she had a right to say how she felt. And I also had a right to say, I'm unsettled by this thing that is happening, very unsettled. It's come out of nowhere for me and I'm unsettled. However, I still had to remind myself that it's okay for her to say what she wants, and it's also okay for me to say what I want. And if we don't agree, it's also okay. And if we agree, it's also okay. It's no longer me having to think, what if, hey, who, there's nothing to panic over. If it's not going to align, it's not going to align. And if it is, it will. And everything is working together for my good. Everything. So pleasing you is not my goal. It's not my goal at all. Appeasing me is my first goal so that I can treat you that way too. If I please me first, I can then turn around and please you from my completeness. But if all I'm doing is looking to please you, then what happens to me who's empty? I can't even continue pleasing you. And at some point, I will resent you and you will resent me. So keeping peace and having peace are not the same. One is burial ground peace, which is not peace. There's nothing that can happen there, right? Is you saying, this is what I would like. I remember in the beginning of my marriage, I didn't know how to tell my husband the things that I wanted. I didn't know how to do it. Not just to my husband, people around me. I couldn't say this I would do, this I wouldn't do. I would just say okay to everything. So of course, when I started to heal and I started to learn and I started to realize that okay, it's actually at my detriment and it's not for my betterment. I like to use that word. I had to start to speak up. I had to kick back. And of course, what was the main sentence people were using at me? You are changing. That's what people started saying to me. You are changing. You are becoming different. And now I know that when people tell me I'm changing, it means that they're losing control over me and they don't like it. They want you to stay the same way they knew you as so that they can keep control over you. But that's not me anymore. And that's one of the things that I use, one of the exercises that I use also when I work with clients. You denounce it. That's not me. I'm no longer that 4-year-old who didn't have a voice, who couldn't tell mommy no, who couldn't tell teacher no, who couldn't tell pastor no, who couldn't tell molester no. I'm no longer that 4-year-old. I'm now 40. If they try me, I know what I will do to them. It's changing that story immediately. That's not me anymore. Not me. This is now who I am. And I immediately tweak it. So who do you say you are now? And you see it's a switch. And you see the smile on their face. You see the assurance. You see the certainty in their voice. I'm like, yes, we've hit it. Yes, there is no fear in love. Perfect love casted out all fear. So you should never be afraid or feel guilty of saying no. Fawning is love filtered through fear. The healing isn't to love less, is to let a truer, safer love finally cast the fear back out. I've had friends that I used to think, really, do I want to stay friendly with these people? Do I, before I will stay and we'll keep fighting it out? Now, you want to go? That's okay. You want to stay? That's okay. Because I cannot be afraid. I can't be afraid in my love for you. I can't. If I feel something, I should be able to tell you. You don't need to like it, by the way. You just need to appreciate that I've told you my truth. You need to respect it, and you need to give me what I say that I want. Because that's how we can stay together. If you say no, you can't do it, it's how you want it that I must want it, then we obviously cannot be friends. My 10-year-old came home one day from school and complained about a classmate of hers who would take her food and play with it. And my 10-year-old, everybody knows you don't joke with her and her food. My younger sister is like that. Like, don't touch her food. You will see every fiber of her being crawl if you put your hand in my sister's plate. My daughter is like that. So she came back home to tell me this, and I said, "Did you say anything to her?" She said, "Mommy, I don't know what to say." I'm like, "Okay, good place to start. I'll tell you what to say." I said, "Is she your friend?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Do you want to keep the friendship?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, she's very funny. I like her friendship." Okay, but I want her to stop what she's doing. I'm like, "Great, nice place to be at." So I said, "You're then going to start your sentence with her by saying, 'What I love about our friendship is how you make me smile, how you are there for me, how how we connect. I need some support in something. When you take my food and you play with it, it's not something I like at all. So I need your support that if you do something and I tell you I don't like it, I need you to stop it.'" She said, "Okay, mommy. What if she says she's not going to stop it?" I said, "Then you continue the conversation. If she says, 'No, I'm going to continue to annoy you,' then you tell her that friends don't annoy each other intentionally. So that means that we cannot be friends. If you choose to be my friend, you must respect me whilst I respect you." And wait and see what she says. If she says no, I will keep doing it, then tell her, "Thank you very much." Then that means we cannot be friends going forward. I will be civil, I will say hello to you, but you and I cannot be friends because friendship means a lot to me. Friendship means respect, friendship means integrity, friendship means being honest. And that's exactly what I'm doing with you right now. I said, and if she says, "Okay, I will do that," then you've won yourself a friend. So I said, "Are you okay with it?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Let's practice it." We practiced it. And she went to school the next day. At the end of the day, when she came back, I said to her, "So how did that go with your friend?" She says, "Oh, I told her." And she said, "Okay." And she didn't touch my food again. I said, "There you go. So you see, you got yourself a friend." Now, I wouldn't have dealt with the same situation some years back the same way that I dealt with it because now I know better. Now I know that I can tell you what I want. And all I just wanted to do was teach her to tell people. I said, when you walk away, you're not weak. When you walk away, you're creating your boundaries and letting them know that they cannot cross you. So what will happen? They won't come near you next time. They won't ask you to. I mean, different things will happen, but also be open and be ready for it because people want you to conform because they want control over you. You can tell them that they can't have that kind of control. So there's no fear in love. Now, there's a turning point, and which is great, right? Because now we can go from appeasing to arriving to that place, which means that you can still be generous. You no longer have to disappear to prove that you're a good person or a kind person. Okay, so let's look at this checklist. Remember at the beginning, I said you would have 5 signs to know whether you're fawning and not being kind. The first sign for you to know, or for you to check, or for you to see that you're fawning is that you agree before you've actually checked in within you about what you think. One of my best sentences is, let me brood over it, I'll come back to you. Let me brood over it. I won't just respond out of an emotion, because that emotion is fleeting. And most times that's you have not thought through the whole process properly before saying yes. And I'm a creator. I'm like God, right? Creating is putting your thoughts in sequence. So I've got to put it in sequence to think about it and say, okay, what are the things I need to learn here? What are the things that I can do here? What's the way forward here? All right. Then I can call you back and say, this is what I thought. Yeah. And you've got to do the same. You feel anxious, not just thoughtful before saying no. If you feel anxious before saying no, or after you say no, and you are feeling guilty, then you're phoning. You can name everyone else's needs in a room before you can name your own. That's definitely a sign that you're phoning. You can come in and say, oh, my daddy likes this, my sister likes this, my mother likes this, my brother likes this, grandpa likes this. And they say, okay, so what do you like? You say whatever everybody else likes. I will just do whatever other people are doing. No, you're phoning. You over apologize even for things that aren't your fault. Now we say sorry for everything. Sorry for calling you. Sorry for disturbing you. Sorry. We say sorry for everything. Sorry for raising my hand. Sorry for sitting. Sorry. When you over apologize, you're phoning. It's not because you're kind or respectful. Even for the ones that's not your fault, you still say sorry. You feel responsible for other people's moods and reactions. Definitely you're a phoner. Most deaf. Most deaf. And I want you to screenshot this and come back to it, because recognition is where healing really starts. So just look at these 5 signs and ask yourself, anytime you say something and you feel, oh, I think I've gone out of my normal self, or on a normal day, I'll say no. If you cannot say no immediately, tell them, let me think about it and come back to you, because you want to go and practice how to say your no. I had to do that. I won't even lie. I had to learn how to say no. I'll stand in front of my mirror, no, in all the languages that I know, neyi, ne, ne, all the languages, no, nepa, all the languages. And I would say, I had to teach myself how to say no and smile. I would just do it, no, and smile. No, I literally had to do that. Literally would sit down in front of my mirror and say no, smiling, so that I will learn how to say no without feeling anything in it. Sometimes these are things that we actually literally need to do, because it's a process. Don't forget. You're not going to wake up one morning and have 5 steps, and from those 5 steps, you hit it. Jesus didn't do 5 steps, he did 30 years for a 3-year journey. So, where is your 5 steps or 7 steps? Don't forget, Adam didn't have any process. That's why it was easy for Adam to fall. And God realized it. By the time Adam opened his eyes, he was a man. God gave him work to do. He said, name all the animals. He was a male man. He closed his eye, opened it again. He was a husband. He didn't do anything to be a husband. He didn't do anything to have work. He didn't know anything. He was just told what to do, and he did it. So of course, and same thing with Eve. By the time she opened her eyes, she was a wife. She was called Eve. The bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh. She became a wife immediately, leading to motherhood. So when the devil or the serpent, or we follow the story, when something against what God had said came, they couldn't counter it with anything, because they had nothing to counter it with. They had no process to counter it with. Today, I was having a conversation with an IT guy who was talking about websites. All the things he said, I was like, no, I've built websites. I have experience of websites, maybe 4 or 5 now, of my own personal or not even organizational ones. So I have the process. You start from here. I said, I can outline your process for you. Why? Because I have a process, so you can't bamboozle me. When God saw that mistake had been made, he said the next Adam that is coming will go through the process. Jesus was first born in a horse house where they raise horses with hay and shit. Excuse my French. That's where he was born. The King of Kings. And then he had to go through a process. He had to go through a learning. He had to go through understanding things of human beings. He had to go through anger. He had to go through all those things. Being a carpenter, he had to go through all those things until it was time. Until it was time. And even at that, right? Even at that, it took him 30 years to prepare for a 3-year journey. What about you? So I promised you a tool, and here's the tool. The pause before yes. The sentence to buy you time. So use this the very next time a request lands on your mouth and your mouth really wants to say yes before your mind has caught up. Pause out loud and just say, let me get back to you on that. No further explanation required. Just pause. Oh, can you do something? And it's for you to learn. Remember, it's a muscle. You're building a muscle. You can't go into the gym and have 6 packs in one day unless you already had one. But you have a sack one day. So it's continuous. So you start to learn it. You just say, let me brood over it. I mean, that's my word. I use brood because God brooded over the earth. God was contemplating, right? So I say, let me brood over it and come back to you. Let me think about it and come back to you. So just say it. Or would you do something? Even if your answer is yes, still say, let me think about it and come back to you. So that you start to learn the art of saying no easily and thinking about the yes before you say it so that there's more integrity in that yes. And you're not just saying yes because you are used to saying yes. We all say yes now. That's what some people say. That's how we do it. That's how we have been doing. No. But does it work? This yes that you just said, does it work for you? Even at work, even at home, even at play. Don't just say, let me think about it, sir. Or let me think about it, ma, and get back to you on it. Oh, we have this training that we are thinking about sending you there. Let me think about it, ma, and get back to you. Give yourself that space. Then check in private. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Or do I want to avoid their reaction to my no? And you will tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. You can lie to everybody else. I tell everybody around me. You can lie to everybody else, but you cannot lie to yourself. When you lie to yourself, you will start to lack the ability to trusting yourself because you are letting yourself down. So check in. So the first thing you say is, let me get back to you on that. Let me get back to you on it. Would you help me book? Let me get back to you on it. I want to go somewhere. Do you want? Let me get back to you on it. Then go inside and just ask yourself, do I really want to do this? On a scale of 1 to 5, what would pleasure mean and what would pain be in this exercise? On a scale of 1 to 5. Sometimes you might not have a choice. You might teach yourself to choosing to liking it. Let me say that again. If you're younger and you don't have a choice, or you're working with a boss and your boss says, at this point, you ask yourself, what is one way that I can do this thing and like it? Because at least if you like it whilst you are doing it, then you're not failing yourself. So if your eyes are open to finding what you like within it, you will find it. Because what you look for, you will find. And then number 3, answer from the real you. And whatever you decide, let it come from your choice, not from reflex. And just ask yourself, okay, so what if I say no and they don't like me? What next? Does that not liking me feed me? No. Does that not liking me give me air to breathe? No. Does that not liking me move me in any capacity? The answer most times is no. Unless you are young and you live with your parents or your guardians and you don't have the financial capacity to do certain things. Today, I told my daughter, I turned on the AC in one of my rooms. She said, "Can she turn on the AC in another room?" I said, "No, you can turn on the fan." She says, "Why do you get to turn on the AC and I don't?" I said, "Because I paid for the light. Would you like me to remove some of the money from your money to pay for the light so you can turn on the AC?" What do you think her response was, guys? Your guess is as good as mine. She said, "No." I said, "Then you use the fan whilst I use the air conditioner because I'm paying for it." Now, some parents will say, "Oh, yes, yes," just because they're afraid of their child. No, I'm not afraid of her. I can tell her exactly what will happen and tell her what needs to happen if she wants certain things to happen. There's a time she'll say, "Mommy, you need to buy XYZ for me." I'm like, "No, you need to become the person that can afford whatever you want." So, what's in your hands? What work can you do with your hands that can make you earn money, that can make you then afford the things that you want? And so we started to make things. She started to crochet. So now she makes clothes for people. She makes blankets for people. She makes quilts. She makes plushies and she earns money. And she will then say to me, "Mommy, with this money, I want to buy this." And I say, "Absolutely, you can, because it's your money now. You worked for it. Whilst we have put 30% aside for investment, for this and that, you've got enjoyment money. You've got money to put back into what you're doing so that you can replenish your goods and your goods for your services and for your product." And so we have those conversations. And she's only 10. But if I don't start it now, when would I start it? I let her know that there's nothing called expensive. There's nothing, it's a construct. Nothing is beyond your reach. You just need to become the person who can afford what you want. And there's so many things you can do. So, answer from the real you. Answer from the real you. Pause. Out loud, say, "Let me get back to you." Then ask yourself, do I really want this or am I trying to please people? Then, whatever your response is, let it come from your real self. And if you don't have a choice in that situation, ask, how do I find something that I can enjoy whilst I'm doing this? Now, here's your new standard and what honest connection actually feels like. What you've learned was a reflex, silence about your real needs, guilt after every boundary, love that requires disappearing. But what we want to build, your new standard, that's what we're building. Yes, as a choice, no, as a choice. Honesty about your real needs, compassion for the old alarm without obeying it so they can exist. You can say, "I hear you. I had this sentence. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I hear you, fear. Thank you for sharing. However, I'm an adult now. I got this. So just step aside, let my adult self come into play, and let me look after you." And that's what I tell my inner child. Love that has room for the real you. The more you connect with you, the better. The more you can trust yourself and trust the things that you choose for yourself. The fact that you chose something today and 10 days down the line it didn't work doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. No, it doesn't. And so when you now start beating yourself, if I should have, I could, no, 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 no. No, I didn't. I didn't do it then because I didn't have the knowledge. Today I have knowledge and I can do something differently. So, what's your next step? Show up honestly. Show up. Whether easy, it doesn't have to be easy. Naming the fawn is the first step. Learning to trust your own voice again is even way deeper. And it's an ongoing work, best worked with support, not alone. So book a session with me. Let's have a conversation. I promise you, your life will never remain the same again. If you work with me, you will never have to settle for less again. And this is not me asking you or begging. I don't need to work with you. I'm just telling you what will happen if you work with me. your life will never remain the same. You will be singing a different song in no time. You were never called to disappear to be loved. I want to remind you of that. Never. There is no fear in love. No fear. And love will cast out every fear. So it means that you can open your mouth and tell people, this is how I really feel about this thing. I like it or I don't like it. And it is okay. If you don't like me after I've said I don't like it, then it means that we really cannot be friends. And it's okay for us not to be friends. Go back and listen to the message that or how I helped my daughter and see how you can modify that for yourself as well. Go gently, my sisters and brothers. Let your yes mean yes, and let your no also mean no, regardless of whether people like it or not. Doesn't particularly matter. People will choose what they want to do with you anyways. Even if you are the nicest person on earth, there will be people that don't like you because you are too nice. So why would you then bother yourself so much about somebody who really is not bothered about you? Ask yourself that question. And whatever the answer is, tell yourself the truth that I choose me first, above and beyond. And then I can choose others because I have chosen me. I can only give from what I give to myself, right? My name is Adiola. I hope you've been able to one hear that it's not just three F's, there's a fourth one. And you're also able to look at yourself and identify in certain places and tell yourself the truth. See you again next week where we're going to be talking about something so fantastic and so transformational. I hope I've been able to help. If this video supports you, share it with others. Subscribe, please. Okay? Subscribe so that we can have more content and we can bring other people onto this show as well. And then share it with others. Don't grow alone. Let your community grow with you as you're growing so there's less pressure and more passion and more peace. Okay? Have a wonderful day. God bless. Bye bye.